everyone, I'm Rachel. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about bright line eating and pizza. So if you're doing bright line eating, you know that we do not eat any flour or any sugar, which means that traditional pizza crust is out the window. We can't have it. Luckily, we have a really great option, and that is cauliflower pizza crust. So there seems to be this big misconception that we cannot eat it on bright line eating, and that is completely untrue. Susan herself has said as long as it is a compliant cauliflower crust, we absolutely can eat it. So in order for a crust to be compliant, it needs to be flour and sugar-free. Pretty basic. Now, most of the cauliflower crusts that you are going to find in your grocery store, unfortunately, are not flour-free. They usually contain either an almond flour or a coconut flour, and that is where the product that I am using comes in, and that product is Cali'Flour pizza crust. Now, I order these online. I get them in stacks of 10, and these are absolutely 100% Brightline compliant. The ingredients in these pizza crusts are egg, cheese, and cauliflower, and seasoning. That is it. So it is absolutely compliant. They come in a few different flavors. They come in, I think, a roasted red pepper, jalapeno, original, Italian. I think there's another one. And then they actually have a plant-based line that is not Brightline compliant, but if you know someone who's doing a plant-based diet that can have those things, that might be something they want to check out. I can't say if it's any good or not because I have not used it myself. So yeah, we're going to talk about the compliant ones today. So when you order them, they're going to come in a box completely vacuum sealed like this individually. You can order them in a stack of 10, or you can order them in boxes of 2. Once they arrive, you're going to want to put them in the freezer, especially if you order a large batch, like a 10 stack, because they have a very short shelf life at room temperature, just a couple of days. So if you order a large pack, make sure as soon as you get it, you put it in your freezer, and it will be fine for weeks and months to come. So don't worry about that. In terms of flavor, they are amazing. I have made cauliflower pizza crust on my own successfully that is compliant, but none of them have even come close to how good a cauliflower pizza is. So if you want to do pizza and you're doing Brightline, I highly recommend this brand. I'm not getting any kickbacks for this video. I just want to get this information out there because I know there's a lot of people that are doing Brightline that haven't tried this product, but they are very interested in it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I prepare my cauliflower pizza crust to get it as good as it can be. Alright guys, so the things we're going to need to prepare our pizza are some parchment paper. We're obviously going to need our pizza crust, and then you are going to need a pizza pan. I have numerous pizza pans, and from experience I can tell you, you're going to want one that has holes in it. Now this is a really old pizza pan. I know it looks horrible, but it works the best, and my pizza isn't going to come in contact with it anyway, so it's completely fine. I mean, this thing is like 20 years old, but I have tested all of our pizza pans and nothing comes close. So if you have something like this, I highly recommend it. If you use a pan that does not have any kind of ventilation, it doesn't have any perforated holes on the bottom or anything like that, it might not come out quite as crispy. Now that we have our tools, we're going to take a piece of parchment paper large enough to cover the pan and just lay that on top. Then we are going to take our crust here and we're going to cut it out. Okay, I tore it a little bit here. That usually doesn't happen, but I'm usually working with a frozen crust. I usually cook it from frozen, but today it's been thawed out. So if it's thawed out, you want to make sure that you're careful with it. So I'm just going to flip this over onto the parchment paper and peel that back. So our crust is ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and trim this a little bit before I put it in the oven. So basically I cook it for 6 minutes per side. I flip it halfway through. Once it's done cooking, I'm going to take it out, put my toppings on it, and then I'm going to put it back in the oven for another 4 minutes. Now this is after 12 minutes. I actually feel like this could be done a little bit more. Usually once it's at a point where it is crispy, the ends will actually kind of start to turn black. And they're really dark around here, but this side is still pretty light. So I'm going to pop this back in the oven for another 2 or 3 minutes. Now that our crust is done, we're going to go ahead and talk about toppings. I usually try and steer away from making any kind of traditional pizza, but to each his own. Today I'm actually going to make this more like a buffalo cheesy bread. So I'm going to be adding a tablespoon of buffalo sauce, and then I'm going to add 1 ounce of mozzarella blend cheese. Now I'm going to eyeball this because I've made this so many times. I already kind of know what a tablespoon looks like. The buffalo sauce is going to add more flavor than substance, so you're not going to see a whole lot of buffalo there. It's just for the flavor. And now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to measure out my cheese. And we're going to go ahead and sprinkle that on. And put that back in the oven for another 4 minutes. So this is what it looks like once it is done. You'll notice the edges are quite dark brown. A lot of people have said that they're concerned about that. It is not burnt. That just means that it is done. It does get pretty dark when you bake it. So as you can see also, when I lift this, it's not bending a whole lot. It is pretty firm. And I can flip it over and it's pretty dark on the bottom. I know that this is well done. And for me, that is exactly how I like it. Okay, now that our pizza is done, we need to talk about how we're going to count this into our plan. So in order to do that, we're going to kind of have to break down the calories in this crust to figure out where they are coming from. So one crust weighs about 4 to 4.5 ounces, and it has about 180 calories and 10 to 12 grams of fat per a whole crust. Obviously, cauliflower does not have that many calories, and with the amount of fat in there, we have to assume that there is at least 2 ounces of cheese in this crust. So to make it easy for me, I count it as 2 ounces of cheese, which is 1 protein serving, and then the rest of the weight I count as cooked cauliflower, so 2.5 ounces of a vegetable serving. Now, if you want, you could probably count it as a little bit more vegetable because I'm sure that the cauliflower loses a ton of water weight during the process. But for me, I figure I don't think that that cauliflower is going to derail me. A little bit of extra cauliflower is not going to make me gain weight, especially since I'm counting the whole caloric value of it as my protein. So if you want to split it between protein and fat, because cheese is one of those things that kind of goes either way, based on what you want to put on it, that's fine. At the end of the day, you're going to have to figure out how you want to count it for yourself, but that is what works for me, and I have been eating this on my plan for months. So that is it. I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions about how to make this crust, if you need additional tips, go ahead and leave a comment below and I will try my best to answer your question. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.